So sutra is actually finished. From here onwards, what happened after the sutra desana? Devas and Brahmas were attending to the first sermon. Then after they listening to Buddha's first sermon, they acknowledge greatness of the sermon and value of the sermon. Then they started to say sadhu sadhu. Some people say the word sadhu, saying sadhu after a sermon was started from this day onwards. Sadhu means excellent. So I would like to talk for a while on this day, because first sermon day of the Buddha, we also have to talk something. As you all know, Buddha's teaching or Dhamma came to existence to this world on this first sermon onwards. We know the Buddha attained enlightenment about 3 months before Vesak full moon day, but he did not deliver sermons, he did not started his missionary, Buddha's missionary, Buddha's mission. Missionary work started with this sermon. After that he trained his 5 disciples, ordained them, trained them, then later few more disciples joined. When the Buddha had 60 disciples who attained enlightenment. So including the Buddha, 61 enlightened people. So the Buddha started his mission, sending them to spread the Dhamma to different places. And the Buddha himself started to go place to place in order to preach his Dhamma. So about the sutra, what I can say is not going to explain the whole sutra, but this sutra is just like a summary of whole teaching of the Buddha. He preached for about 45 years. We all know he lived 45 years after attaining enlightenment. During that period, long period, he preached thousands of discourses. Some are very long, some are short, some are middle length, many sutras. But if we take the essence of all those sutras, it is similar to teaching of the first sermon. I think most of you are familiar about Four Noble Truths, the main teaching of this. Impermanence, discomfort, then the attachment, so and cause of our suffering. Why do we suffer? Due to attachment. Then cause of suffering and how to end the suffering. This presentation, Buddha's presentation to the world, his presentation of Dhamma to the world is something like a prescription, the very scientific. It is like good doctor's attendance attendance to a patient. When a patient visits a doctor, the first thing he has to see the problem. He has to diagnose the problem. What is the disease or health problem he is suffering from? Then he has to know whether this person can be cured or not. And he has to find the right prescription or medicine to cure. In the end, he has to cure. So, when we see Four Noble Truths, we can see, start with dukkha or discomfort. So the Buddha has realized in this world there is dukkha. Dukkha exists. That means discomfort. Some people translate as suffering. So I like to use the word discomfort or pain. There is a discomfort. In other words, can use the word stress exists in this world. Everybody suffer as a result of discomfort. But the Buddha did not stop there. He said, there is a cause. We have discomfort, we have some pain, we go through some pain in this world because of our attachment. So, just like a doctor find a cause of health problem, the Buddha found, or Buddha explained in this sutra, our pain or discomfort, stress is due to our attachment. Then, just like a good doctor, the Buddha realized and explained in this sutra, there is a cure for that. Cure is attaining freedom from attachment, which is more difficult and everybody think impossible. Attachment, we always think, we are used to think, because of attachment we can achieve a lot of happiness. Attachment can bring happiness. We use attachment as a way of achieving happiness. It appears like that. Because of attachment we want to achieve some goals, we want to gain so much, so gain can bring happiness. We look at only that aspect. In a way, it looks very true. We have attachment, with attachment we try to gain more. By gaining more, we expect to achieve happiness. Temporarily it works, but in the long run it won't work. We can't find anybody who has achieved contentment by gaining things or gaining whatever they want as a result of attachment. That is the danger of attachment. Attachment can never bring contentment. And if there is no contentment, there is no happiness. That's why some teachers say the person who is not contented is the poorest man. He can be very rich. Somebody can be very, very rich. He can be an emperor. He can be a ruler of many countries. But if there is no contentment in his heart, he has no happiness. What he has is his heart is full of stress. does not condemn gaining through hard work, gaining through putting in lot of effort to our work. Gaining, the Buddha has mentioned about happiness, different kind of happiness. Happiness through gaining is also one of the happiness. But the danger is there. We can achieve happiness through gaining, but if we do not know where to achieve contentment, we cannot achieve lasting happiness. So, Buddha had shown attachment as the cause of lasting suffering, everlasting suffering or everlasting discomfort. So, to get rid of that, Buddha said, in order to overcome this discomfort, one has to overcome attachment. If attachment is the cause of discomfort, discontentment, overcoming attachment is the way to achieve happiness. So, the Buddha introduced that as Nibbana, freedom from attachment and all the defilements. And even Buddha did not stop there, he went further. So Buddha has given a path, we call Noble Eightfold Path. It was explained in this sutra. You can read the translation. There are many books written about Four Noble Truths. Then there have explanations about Noble Eightfold Path. So Noble Eightfold Path is something like a prescription of a good doctor which can help to cure the patient. So if we can practice Noble Eightfold Path, we can achieve freedom from defilements, we can achieve contentment, and we can be happy. We can overcome cause of unhappiness, which we call attachment. So it is a gradual practice, gradual achievement. So Buddha has preached in this sutra our problem, cause of problem, and how to get rid of the problems. Therefore, it is a very systematic presentation, very scientific teaching, and the Buddha's presented this teaching after he followed and attained his own salvation, his own freedom from defilements. So this sermon is very important because of the content of that sutra. And here I would like to say something in general also. Many people blame Buddhism. There is no salvation in teaching of the Buddha because there is no savior. The Buddha is not a god, we all know, but nowadays talking about God is a bit dangerous also. I don't want to talk about the God, but I must say this important thing. To save people, there must be a God. That is what we think. We have habitual thinking. Human beings have this habitual thinking from the beginning of human life. So we always think there must be a God to save us. We don't want to say, especially I don't want to say that is wrong or we don't want a God or anything. But I can say very clearly, when we go through teachings of the Buddha, we can find our salvation without a God also. With a God, if people believe with a God, they can find their salvation. Very good, they can find. We bless them, we say good luck. But we can find our salvation without a God. The path of salvation is given in this sutra that is called Noble Eightfold Path. We have three aspects to achieve perfection. Sila or ethical development, Samadhi or mental development, and Panya or wisdom. These three aspects. By developing these three aspects, we can be perfect. Human beings can become perfect human beings. But after become perfect human beings, we should not call that perfect person a human being. The Buddha is the example. Born as a human being, even he lived also as a human being. But we cannot say Buddha is human being because it is misleading. There was a great change of his mental energy as a result of attaining enlightenment. Physically, he was same until he passed away. But his wisdom, his mental purity was totally different from an ordinary human being. So the Buddha had, that's why we said, he is perfect, he has attained perfection. So the beauty of that attainment is, it is a good example to us. We are human beings. The Buddha gave us a great example. You human beings also can become perfect. If we can attain perfection, that is salvation. We are free from suffering. So greatest discovery of the Buddha is finding a salvation for human beings without external support. Buddha showed one can attain his own salvation by practicing this Noble Eightfold Path. So that discovery was explained to the world with his first sermon by the Buddha. Therefore, this is very important. Then I would like to direct your attention towards another thing. When we talk about Buddha and Buddhism, there is an important thing which we have to understand and pay attention. We use the word Buddhism. When we say Buddhism, I don't know whether you will be unhappy or disagree with me, but when we say Buddhism, it's a bit like mumbo jumbo. So many things are inside Buddhism. In Thailand, when you go to Thailand, you have Thai Buddhism. When you go to China, Chinese Buddhism. When you go to India, Indian Buddhism. They mix with Hinduism. Indian people worship the Buddha. But they take Buddha as a god. That is where I become mumbo jumbo. Buddha is our god. Buddha is one of our gods. So go to Sri Lanka, Sinhalese Buddhism. Like this, all traditional countries have Buddhism. We cannot tell just Buddhism, China, Chinese Buddhism, in Korea, Korean Buddhism, Singapore, Singapore Buddhism, Taiwan, Taiwan Buddhism, like this. But Buddhism means so many things, like a tree. In the tree we have leaves, we have small branches, big branches, the bark of the tree, then have the lighter part of the wood, then harder part of the wood. So, what is important in the tree, the hardest part, we can use it to make many beautiful things. But generally, if a person is satisfied with leaves, branches, or bark of the tree, or lighter part of the tree, he won't get the essence of the tree. What is happening today is if we compare Buddhism to a tree, only the outer parts, we are attached to outer parts. We have rites, rituals, ceremonies around Buddhism. We pay more attention towards that. So, when we talk about the Buddha and his teaching, what is important is Buddha Dhamma. I don't think we should translate that to any language. Buddha Dhamma. We can say teachings of the Buddha, but Buddha Dhamma, these two words are the best to use. When we say Buddha Dhamma, in this first sermon we can find, and he has delivered thousands of sermons. In those sermons we can find Buddha's teaching, Buddha Dhamma. Based on Buddha's teaching, we human beings are very clever people. We have created Buddhism. We have created different cultures. We can incorporate with different practices. The civilization started as a result of Buddhism was mixed with their own culture. When it was introduced to Sri Lanka, they mix it with Sinhalese culture. When it was introduced to Thailand, they mix it with Thai culture. When it was introduced to China, they mix it with China culture. I don't say it is wrong. Buddhism survived in those countries because of this mixing. Otherwise cannot survive, because it should be appealing to people of those countries. Unfortunate thing is, we have forgotten the original teaching. We are not trying to find the hardest and the most valuable part of the wood. Instead of we satisfy with branches, bark and lighter part of the wood. We don't try to find essence of the wood. In the same way, we don't try to pay more attention towards the Buddha Dhamma. So, we are going round and round around rites, rituals and ceremonies. They are a part of a religion, Buddhism also. But we have to try to go further than that. Some people in Western countries have realized this. Our monks have made a big mistake. Those who go to foreign countries introduce Buddhism. Most of Sri Lankan monks get the credit of going to the West earlier than other Buddhist monks to introduce Buddhism, but introduce teachings of the Buddha. But they introduce Buddhism. What Buddhism? Sri Lankan Buddhism. So they paid less attention towards teaching of the Buddha. When you go to a Sri Lankan Buddhist center in a Western country, if you are very observant, you can see that place is a center of Sri Lanka people. In America also, it's the same. Even in Australia, same. Yesterday I met a few monks who were going to Australia. About, I think, 15 or 16 of them. They were going to observe rainy retreat practice. So going to a temple started by a Sri Lankan monk. I know the place also. typical Sri Lankan Buddhist temple. So I asked this monk, he has stayed there, one of the monks, he has stayed there for a long period of time. Who are the people going to that temple? Almost all Sinhalese people. It's a temple in Melbourne. Sinhalese people go. Once a while, one or two white men go, Australians. So, when they go, the monks or people give them very good lunch, talk to them. When they are sitting with them, take a photo with them and put in a magazine. Or other people may think, this temple is spreading Buddhism in Australia. They can run that kind of temple 100 years, more than that, longer period, but Buddhism won't spread in Australia. Because the Buddha Dhamma, teachings of the Buddha, they have to follow Sri Lankan Buddhism in that premises. In India, I don't know, I am taking too much time also, or not. In India, one great Sri Lankan man called Anagarika Dharmapala, he worked very hard to save some Buddhist centers, including Bodh Gaya. And he started. He is from a very rich family. So he started Buddhist centers in those sacred places, brought monks from Sri Lanka, and tried to train them, but unfortunately he was quite old at that time. Before he managed to establish Buddhist work, he died. But the service, that means for spreading the Dhamma, service done by people gone from Sri Lanka was very little. Nothing much happened. In India today we can find quite a number of Buddhists actually. They have become Buddhist because of one great leader called Ambedkar. So he is from Untouchables group. Because of the cruel discrimination of Hindu society, he was very unhappy. He was unhappy with Gandhi. He was unhappy with Nehru, unhappy with Indian government. He was one of the ministers, and he is the one did the constitution of Indian government. Very great scholar also. But he was unhappy and he became a Buddhist. With him, few million people become Buddhist. So they continue, but they get very little help. So, what I want to say is, we go to other countries. So, we monks go to India also, stay in Buddhist centers as Dhammaduta monks, Buddhist missionaries, but our service is always based around Buddhism, not Buddhist teaching of the Buddha. Therefore, teaching doesn't go to those people. It is a hard thing. But what I want to say is we are paying little attention towards hardest but most important aspect of teachings of the Buddha. Learning Buddhism and at least feel something based on teachings of the Buddha than paying too much attention towards the culture and other practices. So this Dhammaduta day, the Dhamma day, the day Buddha spread his teaching, if we can pay some attention towards that, and this is also a kind of ritual. But we need it. As I said earlier, Buddhist culture or rituals help Buddhism to survive. We have to pay some attention. At the same time, this is an individual thing. We have to pay attention towards Buddha Dhamma or teachings of the Buddha, and we have to try to touch teachings of the Buddha at least a bit. Then we can say we get the benefit of Buddha's teaching. That's all I want to say. Thank you all.